Good morning, everybody. It's the best day of the week. James Ham is there. I'm Kyle Madsen. Joe Brazil behind the glass. Housekeeping up top. 13:20 a.m. on your radio dial. Hello. Good morning, everybody on YouTube and Twitch. YouTube.com/ESPN 1320. Twitch.tv/ESPN 1320. Hello. Good morning to you as well. And everybody in the chatty house except for Manny. Hello and good morning. I hope that you're doing well. If you're listening on the podcast at the James Ham and Kyle Madsen Show, available wherever you get your podcasts. Hello from the past. I hope the future's going well. And the free Odyssey app. If you've not downloaded the free Odyssey app, first of all, what are you doing? Second of all, when you download that, just search ESPN 1320 and you can listen to us anywhere in the world. Anytime
all
you
the
want.
time. Yeah.
Anytime. You can listen to us. You can listen to D'Lo and KC, all the other great programming that ESPN 1320 has to offer. That's on the free Odyssey app. All right. We're giving away $500 again today because we're so nice. We're going to do that again today and tomorrow, and then we'll do it Monday through Friday next week. Look, if you're listening and you entered to win yesterday, we're trying to reach out to you. Pick up your phone. If you won and you get a call, it's probably us. Joe, is it a 916 number?
Yes, sir.
You're going to get a call from a 916 number. Answer it.
Do we not have a name?
No. Because the person has not accepted their prize yet.
Oh, no.
So pick up the phone.
Oh, that's random.
Make a play. So
Okay.
we don't have technically we have
Check
picked
your voicemails.
someone
too.
to win. Check your voicemail.
Yeah.
Answer the phone. We're trying to hook you up. But anyways, we have another $500 to give away today.
Okay.
You'll get two chances to win. Of course, one on this show. We'll give you a keyword. Then D'Lo and KC will also give you a keyword, and you can enter again.
I don't even know who won yesterday because I wasn't here for the opening of the show.
I mean, who won Tuesday?
Yes.
Jalen, I believe was the person's name. Jalen H,
Mm,
I believe is their name.
okay.
Shout out to Jalen H. And you could get a shout out tomorrow or today if you were the winner. Pick up your phone and check your voicemails to see if we're trying to call you.
There it is.
Anyways, we'll give you that keyword in the second hour. The NFL draft is today. It's actually happening. It's finally happening. And look, I got to tell you, it's so funny with draft content because there are some people who the Super Bowl ends and then football doesn't exist.
Mm.
And then free agency happens and they're like, who is my team getting? Who is my team losing? And then nothing, and then no football exists until today. And maybe even not today, maybe not even till 5 o'clock today. Are people like, okay, cool. Now I'll lock in. Oh, it's the draft. Let me catch up on everything that's going on. But the draft content's been going since December. It is so bonkers to the point that I love the draft. I love the whole process. I love watching players and I love trying to match players and teams and oh, could this team trade up and where the quarterback's going to go and could this player set. I just love that whole process.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also tired of it and I can't wait for it to end. 5 o'clock tonight.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Draft begins.
I remember during the pandemic, I think I wrote 23 mock drafts for the NBA.
Whew!
Because
mock drafts.
there was nothing going on for 8 months.
Right.
I had to write one every 2 weeks.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Luckily this isn't 8 months. If you're really locked in December, you get 4 months of it.
It feels like it, though. It feels like the
Gosh.
NFL draft just never, ever gets here. I'm glad it's today.
It's just saturated. Like the draft content market has just gotten so saturated that I think it feels like there's more. The time frame between free agency and the draft feels so much longer.
Yeah.
Because every day you're finding out, oh, hey, here's this prospect nobody's talking enough about. And oh, the 49ers had a visit with this prospect and the Raiders have visited this prospect. And oh, there was this trade. And then you get the Daniel Jeremiahs of the world, the Dane Bruglers, the Mel Kipers, who are kind of they're really plugged in.
Mm-hmm.
There's Todd McShay's another one who are very plugged in and they'll talk to teams, but it's funny because, you know, and I'm sure it's the same way in the NBA. You can talk to a team, but that team is probably not going to give you exactly what the plan is. At least not in the weeks leading up. maybe the day before, maybe the day or two before. And that's why I find the mock drafts that come out now from if I publish a mock draft, I'm still just kind of taking other info that I've seen from other people and trying to match what I think can or should happen.
Mm-hmm.
If Peter Schrager, for example, from ESPN, who talks to people and he's putting out a mock and there's something weird in it, you want to take note of that. Mel Kiper does the same thing. You want to take note of that. The weird thing that's happening now is that Mason Graham, Michigan defensive tackle, you may or may not have heard of him. So Mason Graham, if you're not familiar, is a defensive tackle from the University of Michigan. And not to be confused with Kenneth Grant, who's also a defensive tackle from the University of Michigan, who could also go in the first round of this year's draft. But Mason Graham was a consensus top 5 pick and a consensus top 5 prospect for the entire draft process. It was like, whatever, he's going to go to the Jags. The Jags need a defensive tackle. He's the best one. That's where they're going to go. Daniel Jeremiah, early in the draft process, said, hey, don't be surprised if he slips at some point because he's not going to do a ton of workouts. He's not going to measure well. He's not going to have all those measurable things that teams like. It's the same reason Aaron Donald slipped to 13, I think, in his draft.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, yesterday, people's final mocks start coming out. And you've got Mason Graham going 11 to the 49ers. You've got him going 13 to the Dolphins. There are multiple people who have Mason Graham sliding all the way out of the top 10. And I don't understand it. I understand, like, maybe he does. I'm not trying to say these people are wrong. What I'm trying to get at is, why is this happening today and yesterday? Why is this? If it's really, man, you know what? His arms are kind of short. He doesn't have elite size. He didn't do any athletic testing, so we're not sure if he would test well athletically. We've known that. We've been known that. Why is it today in these final mock drafts that all of a sudden his draft stock, publicly anyway, is tanking?
Okay, so someone who's covered the NBA draft for years and years and years.
Right.
There are always players who have no business being in the top 10, and then the last couple of days before the draft fall out of the top 10. And that's because a lot of, I don't know how to say this, like, gently.
No, just let it rip.
Money exchanges hands to keep players or to push players higher in the draft on mock draft boards.
Yes. Correct.
So then that way, more teams will look at a player. They'll get more, there'll be a better buzz about them. They'll be, because a lot of mock drafts are just basic aggregation. They're, a lot of people don't go watch footage of the players. They haven't watched a ton of games. What they do is they look at, Sam Vecini, and they look at, some of the big draft boards, and they move players around accordingly.
Sure.
Like when I build a draft, when I did for years and years, I watch so many hours of film.
Right.
Like I'm watching for hip movement. I'm watching for, release points. I'm watching for like fluidity of the athlete and all these things. But then I also match that with the player needs for each team. And then, talent level, of course there's tiers and everything else. But for me, like when you read a lot of these mock drafts, you should know that like some of the bigger mock drafts that you're reading were bought and paid for.
Just to give an example, and I will leave actual names out of this.
Yeah.
Let's pretend I am a top 5 draft analyst. That is my bag. That is what I do. Agents might call me and say, hey, I am Shamar Stewart's agent. Shamar Stewart is a defensive end from Texas A&M who has all the measurables. He's built like out of granite, and he's tall, and he's got long arms. He had 4.5 sacks in 3 years of college.
Yeah.
He had 1.5 sack every year. He had 1.5. That was his sack production. It's because he just kind of runs in and he doesn't know what he's doing once he gets into the backfield.
Okay.
It's like a dog chasing cars. And so I'm Shamar Stewart's agent, and I see, man, he's going in the 20s in all these mock drafts. I'm going to call Kyle, the number 1 draft analyst.
Yep.
Hey, I got 10K here, or however much. I'm just picking a number. I got 10K. Can you make him a top 5 guy in your next mock?
Yeah.
And so I go, wow, the Jacksonville Jaguars are looking for a top defensive lineman, and Shamar Stewart is the guy for them, and blah blah blah. And I'd put that in my next mock, and now all of a sudden, Joe Brazil, the Jaguars blogger, picks up. Oh wow, okay, well hey, Shamar Stewart is the guy for the Jags, and all of a sudden, all these other mock drafts
snowballs.
Yeah, and that's how that goes.
And then,
and if you think teams aren't reading mock drafts, by the way, you are wrong.
No, you
Teams 1,000% pay attention to that stuff.
Well, then what happens in the last day or two is that it's fine to have that guy up there and push him early on in the draft process.
Mm-hmm.
When you get to the last day or two, it's like, no. This is how the draft will actually go.
Right.
This is not, I'm going to move the player to where he should go in the draft, not where I'm being paid to put him in the draft.
Sure.
And I'm not saying that all draft people are dirty.
No,
I'm saying that,
right.
that there are, like, to think that there is not money changing hands is super naive.
I think you're probably right.
And like, I've seen players that you're looking at like, oh, he could go as high as number 4 tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And then he falls to number 23. And you're like, did he fall or was he never that high?
Right.
Did he trip? Like
that's it. And is it now at the point where guys are making these calls? And I think what's it might be the money thing. That might be what's happening with Mason Graham. But I think what winds up happening with Mason Graham is something like this. Like, everybody believes he's going to go to the Jags. And somebody prominent with the Jags, maybe it's their GM, tells Peter Schrager or Mel Kiper or Todd McShay, hey, we're not taking him. We're out on Mason Graham. He didn't test. His arms are too short. He does not fit what we want in a prospect.
Couldn't get him in for a workout, whatever it might be.
Right. And hey, you know what? We're just not feeling. And all of a sudden you go, okay, well, dang. And then you talk to somebody else elsewhere in the top 10, and they're like, yeah, hey, we're kind of down on him, and you know what? We're trying to, or they talk to the Carolina Panthers, who are trying to trade down from number 8, and they're going, hey, if Mason Graham falls to us, we're not getting any takers on these calls. When all of a sudden people are putting pieces together and going, nobody's high on Mason Graham.
Yeah.
But you watch him, and again, he was early on in the draft process, again, like December, he was really frequently mocked to the 49ers. So he was one of the first players that I dove in on. I'm like, yeah, dude, this guy can play.
Yeah, oh yeah.
This is a first round pick for sure. Where he ends up landing, I have no idea, because I'm not digging deep on the defensive tackle class. Sorry, guys.
Nope.
But he was one of the first. It's like, oh, okay, this guy can play. And you start watching more, and then you start seeing people smarter than me coming out and going, yeah, hey, this is a top 3 player in the class. This might be the best defensive player in this class, blah, 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 blah. It's like, all right, well, there's no chance he's getting the Niners at 11, so let's go elsewhere.
Yeah.
And now on draft day, we're 7 hours away from the draft, 6 hours and 45 minutes away from the draft. Like, hey, there's a real possibility Mason Graham falls to 11.
Oof.
Whatever, man. I
think, Kyle, that the way that this works too is that once you're in the top 10 and you see a player that you think will be off the board, you've done your research and it feels like he's going to be off the board at number 6 or 7 or 8 or 9, you start to fall in love with somebody else.
Yeah.
And the guy that you have a chance of getting.
Yeah.
You're not going to move up to go get the other kid. So you're like, okay, I like these 2 guys. And you spend all of your time and energy focusing on those 2 guys. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, this other guy might be available now. Well, I'm kind of pot committed with these other 2. And, is there a difference in talent level? Maybe a little bit, but we feel comfortable with him. Plus, you can get to a position at, 6, 7, 8, 9, where those teams just don't need a defensive tackle.
Mm-hmm.
And so a need-based thing comes into play as well. And I feel bad for the kid if he does actually tumble on draft night. But again, there are so many times where I've seen guys start to tumble on NBA draft night, and it's like, oh, he didn't tumble far enough. Like, he had no business being number 4. And the fact that he went number 9, that's not good enough either.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see the skill set. And then, 5 years later, they're out of the league. And
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the weirdest draft I can remember, because it's Cam Ward, the quarterback from Miami, 1.
Mm-hmm.
And then in some order, Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter. Travis Hunter, the cornerback and wide receiver from Colorado, and Abdul Carter, the defensive end from Penn State. They are the consensus top 3. After that, it's like, I don't know.
Wide.
The guy who goes 4 might go 15th. The gap is just insane in where you've got people, smart people. Peter Schrager, for example, has Walter Nolan, the defensive tackle from Mississippi, going to the 49ers at number 11. There's somebody else, I can't remember who it was. It was Daniel Jeremiah. Daniel Jeremiah, I believe, doesn't have Walter Nolan in the first round.
Oh.
Like, the gap is so wide. This is such a weird draft. We're going to talk about it a lot. We're going to talk about it so much, in fact, that we need an additional hour. So from 4 to 5 p.m. today, we're going to be talking draft out at Cache Creek inside the YOLO room. We're going to talk about the draft for an hour, and then we're not just leaving. We're going to move to the Elevate Lounge, where we're going to have drinks, and we're going to have food, and we're going to watch a draft, and we're going to have a great time hanging out with all of you. Again, that's at Cache Creek today. 4 o'clock is when our live show starts. You can come hang out with us there, talking draft, and then we will watch the draft in the Elevate Lounge at Cache Creek. Cannot wait for that. We're talking Raiders draft. We're talking Niners draft. But something interesting came up with Scott Perry's press conference yesterday. He got asked a lot about Doug Christie. And we need to get into that because that's everybody's knows that, hey, that's the first thing he's got to take care of. He said it's something that's going to be taken care of in the next week. So let's dive into that now. Sam Amick said something interesting today that I want to tell you about next. That's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. Joe Brazil's with us. We're the Insider, sponsored by Jiffy Lube, and this is ESPN 1320. It's Sacramento Sports Leader. I don't know why I went into my weird radio guy voice there on the Sacramento Sports Leader.
That's funny. I heard
it. Hey, it's Sacramento Sports Leader.
Damn.
Yeah, Jackson Dart is. We probably won't talk about him a lot on this show just because it's not super relevant to the Raiders of the 49ers. But I'm so interested to see where Jackson Dart winds up going. The Shedeur Sanders drop has been insane.
Yeah, where's he going?
In March, it was Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders at 1. Whoever doesn't go 1 is going to go 2 to the Browns unless the Giants trade up to 2 from 3. Or if the Browns don't want a quarterback, then they'll go 3 to then Shedeur or Cam, whichever one doesn't go first, will go 3 to the Giants. And all of a sudden it's Cam Ward 1 and Shedeur Sanders like, yeah, maybe the first round. Like, whoa.
But again, I think one of the reasons why he was up so high in a lot of mock drafts was because you're trying to sell something when you're putting out mock drafts, and the Sanders name sells. And so,
dude,
let's get him up in the top as high as let's move him around. Let's have him go here. Let's have him go there. Everyone's excited, and that fan base, and now this fan base, and now that fan base. You're just like drumming up interest in a kid.
Do you know how many Shedeur Sanders related 49ers things I wrote this year? I bet it was half a dozen. Just any time he moved in a mock draft, because my thought process initially was any weird stuff that happens in the, like, more quarterbacks going in the top 10 is helpful for the 49ers because it means more guys who they could take could fall out of the top 10. That was my initial thought. I was like, oh, if he gets to 11, maybe the Cowboys really want him because that feels like a Jerry Jones thing. And somebody trades up to 11 to get him. But now it sounds like Pittsburgh at 21 is the popular destination.
Okay.
And I was talking to my buddy in Pittsburgh, and he's like, yeah, but they're not going to, like, I don't think they'll trade up for him. If he falls to him, maybe. It's like, oh my God.
It's wild.
But it's interesting because I watched, I'm plugged in on the Colorado Buffaloes. Like I love the Deion Sanders his whole aura is fascinating to me, and I love watching them. I never came away from watching Shedeur Sanders like, oh my God, this guy's next.
Yeah.
Like he's a good player, and I think he could be a good NFL quarterback. But it felt like the top, he's going to go top 2. It felt like one of those super reaches to me. But again, I always defer to people smarter than me on that kind of stuff. Also, I saw somebody mentioned sport mode with Crocs because we talked about my Crocs yesterday.
I was laughing at that. It was
sport mode is a very real thing, dude.
Extremely real thing, and it's taken very seriously as well. It's not a joke.
Dude, no, I'm not like if I'm walking around my house, I just got my Crocs on normal, right? But if for some reason, well, I'll wear them out and about. If I'm going grocery shopping, you pop the heel up because I'm going to be moving. I don't want to be dealing with my feet potentially falling out.
Agility.
Having that option,
next level.
I
wish I could put my slides in sport mode. I can't.
If I had enough Crocs, I would wear Crocs every day. If I could match into my outfits.
Oh yeah?
Oh yeah.
I like Crocs.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
Anybody hating on Crocs just has never worn Crocs. That's it. That's the bottom line.
No, I agree. Like I've had Crocs for years.
They're the best.
I even
they're the best thing.
The Crocs slippers where they actually have like the fuzzy stuff inside.
They're great.
Yeah.
If you think you're too cool for Crocs, I have really bad news for you.
It turns out are the young people not into Crocs now?
Crocs are cool, dude.
So I've reached I'm at the age. I'm at the age where I'm not like, who am I trying to impress at this point, right?
Absolutely.
It's just all vibes for me.
Yeah.
So if I'm gonna go grocery shopping in my workout shorts and a cardigan and some Crocs, like we're just going. I'm not worried. Like that's just kind of where I'm at. So I started wearing my Crocs out. I was like, these are comfortable. To hell with it. And I said on the internet, man, I've officially reached old man status where I'm wearing Crocs publicly. And one of my friends who works at a high school hit me up and they're like, no. The young people love Crocs.
Mm.
And I was like, oh my God, I'm cool.
Boom.
I'm fired up. So now I wear my Crocs everywhere, except for work. It felt
Cool.
weird. It felt weird wearing Crocs to work. We're going to talk Kings here in a second. It felt weird wearing Crocs to work yesterday. I really think that threw off my vibe. Sitting here because it's a tall chair. My feet don't reach the floor. Shut up. And so sitting here with my like my foot's in my shoe, but then my shoe's like dangling a little bit.
Oh yeah.
It felt weird.
Got to go sport mode.
I should have gone sport mode. See?
Just straight up.
Because you're talking sports. Oh my gosh. Wait, it makes so much sense.
Talking sport mode.
I do believe that
Pamela, I'm cutting this segment for you.
Idiocracy, the movie, is where Crocs made their debut.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the costume designer or director or somebody was like, I have found shoes that are so hideous. Nobody will ever wear that. Like these are, because it was when Crocs was just starting out.
Yeah.
And they were like, these will never be a thing. So we don't have to worry about these being a thing in the future and Idiocracy aging poorly. Nope.
Well, that movie didn't age poorly at all.
Not even a little bit. Anyways, Scott Perry's press conferences yesterday.
That's right.
James Ham was there at Golden One Center. He got asked a lot about Doug Christie's, or not Doug Christie specifically, but the coach and who's going to be the Kings' next head coach. Because as of right now, they don't really have a head coach. Doug Christie was the interim head coach.
I believe I specifically asked about Doug Christie and the coaching search.
Yes.
I said, is Doug Christie going to be the guy, or are we going to have a full-blown coaching search?
Right.
To open the press conference.
Right.
Yeah, like, look, I think there's a lot to, like, look at here. Like, first of all, when Scott Perry was the guy that was announced, a lot of people just assumed because Scott Perry was announced as the new general manager that meant that Doug would be back.
Mm-hmm.
And that still very well could be the case. Like, Doug has a lot of friends in high places in the Kings organization.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because he's a good dude and because he's been around forever and because he's part of the past.
Mm-hmm.
But he's also been part of the broadcast. He's got a huge following with the fan base, and he's a very popular guy in Sacramento. But that doesn't mean that's what Scott Perry believes is what's best for his franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, Vivek owns the franchise, but who's responsible for wins and losses now is Scott Perry. And so he's going to do what he kind of feels is right. He's talked to Doug a couple of times, according to Scott Perry yesterday. Not only that, but a lot of the attributes that Doug brings to the table are things that that he certainly, that Scott Perry is looking for. He wants a defensive-minded coach. He wants somebody who can connect with players. He wants somebody who has an identity of playing hard, and like what he described as Doug Christie as a player.
Dude, he described. So just to I'm going to tie the NFL draft in here for a second because it felt exactly the same. John Lynch got asked on Tuesday about defensive end prospects or what the 49ers look for in a defensive end. And then he went on to just describe Mykel Williams, the defensive end from Georgia. Just described him as a player.
Mm-hmm.
That to me was what Scott Perry did when talking about the coaching search yesterday. He was like, I want somebody who's going to have a tough-minded team that is defensive focused and that shares the basketball. It was like, I know a guy.
That's Doug Christie.
I know the guy. I know exactly who you need. And that jumped out to me. The fact that he said he's got to talk to a few people, but he expects a resolution in the next week.
Yeah.
That to me is, I read that as, and if you think different, let me know. But I read that as, this is Doug's job to lose. I'm going to confirm with a couple of people because I haven't been in the building that we're all cool with Doug and that's going to be the choice. Now, if he goes to somebody, and I don't think this will happen, but if he went to some decision maker and they were like, hey, we need to, I don't know, then maybe they expand the search a little bit.
I think a bigger issue is if you sit down with the players and you have individuals who have some questions about the direction and they're not comfortable with Doug Christie being the head coach, or they have qualifiers like, hey, Doug can be the guy. We're okay with Doug being the guy, but you had better load up his coaching staff. And again, part of it's just because Doug Christie doesn't have the experience.
Sure.
Like JJ Redick didn't have the experience either, and Chauncey Billups didn't have the experience either. But you surround those guys with really, really good assistant coaches to support them, and that's what you should do. I mean, like Doug should be coming up with offensive schemes and defensive schemes for himself. He should have ideas for himself, but he should also have guys who have done that in the league for the last 20 years or 15 years in the league, building out offenses and defenses for NBA coaches. And so like you need a really good staff, and that's whether Doug is here or not. But if it is Doug, you need an even better staff than you would with like a veteran head coach with like Mike Brown. Right. So you're hoping that would be the next step. But like, look, I think we're going to hear all kinds of things in the next week or two, and we'll see how this thing plays out. I would be surprised if they have an announcement quick, it's probably Doug. If they don't have an announcement quickly, we're going to start hearing about a full-fledged coaching search and what does that mean for Doug and all that. Then it's going to get complicated.
If we get to Wednesday is the date I set in my head.
Okay.
If by next Wednesday, so that would be the 30th, April 30th. If we haven't heard anything about the Kings are closing in on someone or if we've heard nothing by Wednesday, that's when I'm going to think, oh, okay, there's a larger search going on.
Well, that and like the NBA circles are really small when it comes to coaching. So if we haven't already started hearing at least some names mentioned, or that it isn't a foregone conclusion that he's going there or something like that. We'll start to hear some murmurs. Like, oh, like so-and-so is interested in their job or has, or the Kings have called.
Yeah. The Kings have expressed interest in Coach X.
Yeah. To check in. And then we're all going to be left with this idea like, well, is that for a head coaching job or is it for the lead assistant job? Like, what is it? I've said it yesterday on D-Lo and KC, like Dave Yeager's name has been mentioned in Sacramento quite a few times in the last 2 weeks.
Now you say that, but you also said this Scott Perry's name kept coming up.
Oh yeah. Scott Perry's name had come up for 6 weeks. Yeah, at least.
Is that how Dave Yeager's name is coming up? Or is it just like, yeah, if it's not Doug, here's a name to keep an eye on?
No, it's just like randomly you start hearing, oh, and then you start checking around and be like, yeah, I've heard that too. And outside of the walls and, around. So I would say, and again, I don't know that that means Dave Yeager for a head coach or Dave Yeager for an
Mhm.
assistant coach. But when you look at Scott Perry as, his time with Sacramento is 2017,
Mhm.
that was Dave Yeager's team.
Yeah.
He worked with Dave for those 3 months while they were prepping for the draft. Although I will say that there's something that happens in that draft that Dave Yeager and his group really, really, really wanted Kyle Kuzma over Justin Jackson, and that didn't happen. They
Well,
lost out, and that's because Kyle Kuzma, number one, had played at Utah
Mhm.
for Larry Kristowiak, who was a minor league coach forever, and also like a like vagabond, like big man in the NBA for a
Mhm.
while, right? Well, Larry had ties with all of the Kings coaching staff who had coached in the minor leagues.
Mhm.
And he kept telling everybody, hey, man, this Kyle Kuzma kid's amazing. They had Kyle Kuzma in for a workout, and he absolutely blew the doors off of Justin Jackson. And the
what a
Kings
weird thing.
didn't take him.
Dude, front offices that's the other, just again, not to make this about the NFL draft,
Yeah.
but that happens in front offices are dumb.
Yeah.
No, I shouldn't say that. Front offices will do dumb things all the time.
Mhm.
Like, hey, every sign says we should draft this guy, but you know what? We're vibing with Justin Jackson.
That's why I always bring up like the Damian Lillard thing. He showed up one day, he hit all but one shot. Like that's what they said.
Ridiculous.
He hit like something like in the 90s of his shot,
Ridiculous.
out of 100 shots. Like they were like, this kid is unbelievable. Going into the draft, the night before the draft, I was told by someone inside they're taking Damian Lillard. The next day, they get to the draft, Thomas Robinson falls, and this was because Dion Waiters, who again is one of those weird guys who he wouldn't work out for anybody,
Mhm.
was slated to go in the 20s, and all of a sudden he goes number 4 and pushes Thomas Robinson to number 5. The
Oh.
Kings can't get a commitment from the Maloofs as to whether they at least can sign Jason Thompson back, and so they don't even have a power forward at all on the roster. So instead of drafting Damian Lillard, they draft Thomas Robinson because they at least knew they would be able to fill one of their roles that they needed. And
what a nightmare.
And then the Maloofs gave them money for Jason Thompson. And, like you should never, first of all, you should never make a draft decision based on Jason Thompson. And that's not,
That's a great point.
that's not to be disrespectful to Jason Thompson, but that should never happen.
No, you shouldn't be making draft decisions based on players who aren't all NBA guys.
Nope.
And
it doesn't matter if they're in their 3rd season or 4th season, whatever it is. But these are mistakes that are made.
Mhm.
So anyway, like to get back to the question at hand, the Doug Christie question, I don't know like what they're going to do here, but I do think it's been leaning a specific way for a while.
Feels like it.
Like Doug was not in the room yesterday because I think it would have been a distraction.
Mhm.
Vivek also wasn't in the room yesterday because I think he knows it could have possibly been a distraction.
It 100% would have been.
And there were a lot of people in the room, like Matina, John Reinhardt, like all of the training staff, most of the coaches that are still in town were all there. Like there were a ton of people in the room. I mean, the place was packed. So it's noticeable that those guys aren't there. But again, I'm not going to make some, massive conclusion because the first thing that everyone would have done if Vivek was in the room was as soon as Scott Perry got done talking, they would have raced to Vivek. Like,
for sure.
Or race to Doug. Like
Yeah.
they would have, okay, let's follow up.
Mhm.
So they didn't have those guys in the room.
Sam Amick said on a different program today. Sam Amick said on some weird show, I don't know, that it may be, if they go with Doug Christie, it may be a short-term deal or a long-term deal with options built in. Would that be, I want to start here. Whether that is how they would do this or not is secondary to what I want to ask now.
Mhm.
Do you think that would be prohibitive? If Doug Christie and Rich Paul walk in and say, need a 4-year deal, or that's the standard, we had a 4-year deal worth X dollars a year, that's what we're going to do here. And if Vivek's like, well, we don't know if you can coach yet. Like, you did a nice job, but we don't know what this looks like for 82 games. we don't want to commit to 4 years of this. So how about 2 years or 4 years with options after years 2 and 3?
Okay, so
would Doug go, I don't want to be the head coach here then?
No, and I think that's the leverage that the Kings have. Like, everybody knows Doug wants a job.
Mm-hmm.
Doug also wants a job with a paycheck.
Of course.
Like he wants to be the guy who leads his team
As
to
he
an
should.
NBA championship.
Yep.
He's also a guy who would love to make NBA head coaching money. Like, who wouldn't?
Mm-hmm.
Whether like that's a starting salary around $5 million or it's $7 million or it's $9 million, the Kings will probably try to keep it around 4 or 5 to start because he isn't proven as a head coach, right? But coaching salaries have gone up quite a bit. And so that'll be the first thing. As far as like a 2-year commitment with a 3rd-year option and a 4th-year option, I will tell you this, that the Kings, when they went to sign Mike Brown to his original contract, their first offer was a 3-year deal with a 4th-year team option. And Mike turned that down and said, I will take a 3-year deal with a 4th-year mutual option. And the Kings were like, oh, well, that's fine. That's okay, fine. We'll negotiate, and we'll give you the mutual option.
Right.
Well, that's what came back to bite him in the behind.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we got done with year 2, and let me think. No, you got done with year 3.
Right.
Mike was no, it was year 2. When you got done with year 2, Mike was told the Kings,
Mm-hmm.
I'm opting out of year 4.
Mm-hmm.
And so that meant he would go into into last season as a lame duck, which is why they went and gave him an extension. They gave him a pay raise and an extension. But again, that's on them. Like, most coaches get a 4-year deal. I mean, the Phoenix Suns have been handing out 5-year deals every year to a new head coach who doesn't work there anymore.
Yeah.
So like they're stacking up 5 years worth of deals. Like, the Kings are on the hook for the next 2 years for Mike Brown.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that will play a role in what they do here.
Mm-hmm.
But that means you're at least getting Doug Christie for 2 years. Because if they're going to buy him on they're not going to fire Doug. If Doug is the guy,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to fire Doug after 1 year.
You'd hope not.
And then go into that next year where you're paying Mike Brown, Doug Christie, and
Mm-hmm.
some other dude that's coaching the team now.
Mm-hmm.
So it gets really, really complicated.
And isn't this the last year of Luke Walton?
No, Luke Walton's deal is over.
Oh, is it?
He had a 4-year deal, and they fired him midway through his 3rd year. So Mike Brown's first year, they were paying 2.
Okay.
Yeah. But so that means they went through 1 year where they truly weren't paying 2 coaches, because they did, when you raise someone to an interim position from an assistant, you do have to give them more money. I don't think that Doug Christie will take a 2-year deal, a make good 2-year deal, because his agent is Rich Paul, and there's a reason why you give Rich Paul a percentage of your money, and that's to negotiate those deals.
Right.
I don't see that there's a way that you're not going to at least get a 3-year deal. I'd at least be shocked.
The thing for me is whoever it is, whether it's because Doug is the guy who doesn't have the experience, so we'll just say it's Doug. You have to do that if you're the Kings, because you have to give him the runway to figure this out. There's going to be some turbulence with the roster. There's going to be some ups and downs during this transition. There's going to be some ups and downs with him as a coach as he continues figuring this thing out.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I kept coming back to yesterday when talking about with the Scott Perry press conference. It's like, okay, this all sounds good. You need to just let him cook for a couple of years. You need to let this thing build and grow, and you need to let it have its ebbs and flows. And there's going to be peaks and there's going to be valleys, and every valley can't be, oh my God, panic, coach is on the hot seat.
Yep.
Give him the 3-year deal and let him have 3 years.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, you know what? I don't care how bad this year goes. I don't care how bad next year goes. In 25, 26, 27, 20, 26, 27, the 27-28 season, Doug Christie will be our head coach to at least start the season. Let this thing play out, man. So that's what I hope I hope they don't do okay, well, we'll do 2 years and then we'll give you an option. And then oh man, just.
And if you're not convinced, then go find the coach that you're sold on.
That's it.
That's, I mean, realistic.
That's
If
what
you're
it
not
comes down to.
convinced, and hey, I understand both sides. Like, I think Doug's done a good job, but at the same time, I also think, look, there's a possibility here that you find a coach that's seasoned and that you have just more trust and faith in because you've seen him do it before.
Yep. That's it.
Yeah.
If you're not certain, then find the guy you're certain about.
Yep.
Absolutely. All right. We're going to put a pin in the NFL draft. We're going to put a pin in the Sacramento Kings. We'll take those back off the board and we'll keep talking about them. But we're going to talk some A's. JP Sears, he shoved last night. 5 innings, 5 hits, 2 runs, a walk, and 5 strikeouts in a win over the Texas Rangers. He's going to join us next. Excited to talk with the A's lefty. He was a delight at the Sawyer earlier this year. Can't wait to introduce him to all of you here in the Chatty House and on ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Leader. He's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. Joe Brazil behind the glass. We're sponsored by Jiffy Lube. Back in a second. Can you answer this?
Was it, why does Matina get so much attention when John Reinhardt has also been there since the Maloof days? Okay. Well, because John Reinhardt runs the business side, right? I think he's the CFO and Matina's the CEO of the Kings Corporation. So Reinhardt deals with the business side specifically, where Matina oversees everything. Like, she's an umbrella position. There's a business side and there's the basketball side, right? We have two sides. The business side, someone sells tickets, someone sells, ad sponsorships, all that stuff, right? All the stuff you see in the building, all that. Then the other side is strictly what happens in the practice facility and all that. Well, there is somebody who oversees the company as a whole, and that is Matina. And, there's that layer, Matina, and then there's ownership above Matina. So that's why her name gets brought up, because I don't think John Reinhardt walks into the basketball side and ever has a conversation about who's going to be the new GM or who's going to be the new head coach. He might be part of a discussion somewhere else. But he definitely doesn't have the influence on the basketball side that Matina has always had, or at least has had for the last, 15, 20 years. I hope that explains that. I do like, I've had a relationship with John Reinhardt for a long time. I think he's a very nice guy. And the Kings as a business are highly successful. I think that's something that, other NBA teams come to Sacramento and try to figure out how the Kings have been so successful financially for a team that's in a relatively small market. I mean, Sacramento's like 19th or 20th in the nation as far as market size, but they are very successful for the size of the market. That's why, when the pandemic hit, they had lost it was something like $100 million in the first 45 days or something.
Ooh.
Yeah. I don't disagree. I don't disagree with this, King Boss. I think the Kings, you're probably right, because local businesses and businesses in general do want to get behind a product that there's excitement about, and whether the Kings are good or bad, there's always excitement about it. So
Yeah, it's doomerism online up until there's a play-in game, and then all of a sudden the roof is ready to come off the place.
Yeah.
Jim asked this first. I would be shocked if it's, again, not based on anybody I'm talking to, but it sounds like Cam Ward is pretty well set as the first pick. I'm already annoyed that that's going to take them 9 minutes to announce.
Did you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
30 seconds. Yep. I can hit.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
If you're out at Sutter Health Park last night, you saw our next guest throw 5 innings, give up 5 hits, 2 runs. He walked 1, struck out 5. It's JP Sears, A's left-handed pitcher, joining us now. JP, how's it going, man?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. Certainly better than the last time we talked down at the Sawyer, because there's baseball going on. How are you guys acclimating to playing at Sutter Health Park? Specifically, I guess, how are you as a pitcher acclimating to Sutter Health Park?
Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me this morning, you guys. And it's been great so far. Obviously, I think our first 3 series there obviously have been a little bit skewed towards the other teams, but as a team, we've been feeling really good. I think the last couple games have been showing that. And me personally out there on the mound, the field's been great. The mound's really good, and I feel like both games that I've pitched, there's been some good energy in the stadium. So it's been a good place to pitch so far. Obviously, maybe not the ball's flying a little bit, so maybe not that wise. But as far as just the park and all that, it's been a lot of fun.
Is it surprising to you, JP, how the ball just seems to right now just be taking off out of there? Because I think a lot of you guys have played in that park before as minor leaguers, and it just doesn't seem like it's always been that type of home run hitting park. But then again, Major League Baseball players aren't there every single day hitting shots.
Right. I guess, as a pitcher, you really just can't think about it. You just go out there and do your thing and going about your process of just preparing for the game and how it's any other game. But the ball's obviously flying a little bit at times. There's also been day games there where I feel like it's been opposite where the wind's been blowing in. So I think it'll be a bunch of different variables throughout the year. And I think that over the course of a couple of weeks and months, it'll start to really be in our favor as the home team, and just being comfortable there in the atmosphere and all that. And so I think it'll be something that'll end up helping us out.
Talking with A's pitcher JP Sears here on ESPN 1320. So typically you pitched really well against Texas last year. You shoved against them again last night. In the NFL, we talk about the NFL a lot here on the show, and we talk about division games and how they carry so much more weight in the NFL. Is that the same in baseball? Like when you guys go up against an AL West opponent, does it feel like there's a little bit more weight to that game in that series?
Yeah, I definitely do. As a starting pitcher, knowing that, obviously you look at the MLB app and TV all the time, and you just see the standings in the division, and that's the first step to get in the playoffs, right? If you win your division, then there you go. So every game that I'm throwing against, Texas or Houston, Seattle, LA, it's obviously a big game, and all of them are big in the big leagues. All of them matter just as much, but. Seeing, Texas and other teams close to the top of the division right now, we want to catch them early on and, be competitive with them. So, obviously looking to take the series tonight against them and then, do pretty well against them again next week.
JP, it feels like you guys are super close to breaking through. You've hovered right around 500 for the last couple of weeks. Your road record's way better than your home record. But what do you think it's going to take to sort of get you guys over the top and get you playing plus 500 ball?
Yeah, I think that we've shown that we have a lot of firepower on our offense, having a lot of, just hitting a lot of home runs early on and, really producing there. And even early on in our first couple starts out of our starters, having really good starts and our bullpen as well. I think that, on the pitching side, just need to do a little better with us pitchers, getting through that last fifth or sixth inning without giving up those extra runs or that 1 or 2 runs. And I think the bullpen would say the same. We just want to do good with those transition innings. Those, I think, have kind of been the ones that have hurt us. The couple games that we've lost, just letting some stuff snowball. So I think that's one thing that good teams will end up doing, and that's what we're going to do is, just focus on the little details that'll, get you that one extra out or the extra run on the offensive side or whatever it is here and there, and start to see things switch over to our side more. And I definitely feel it already happening.
Talking with JP Sears, a starting pitcher here on ESPN 1320. We heard about Nick Kurtz from the day he was drafted. And all of a sudden, it's what, 9 months? 9 months later from the time he was drafted, he's now making his major league debut, getting a hit in his major league debut. Is there any how impressive is that to go from being drafted to the majors in that short amount of time? And we'll start there. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be a professional. I'm not going to ask a 2-part question. 1-part question. How impressive is that?
Yeah, I was talking to my wife about that yesterday, how crazy that is to me, to think about my time as a professional baseball player and knowing where I was at 9 months after my draft. I think I had a shoulder impingement in low A. So, everybody's a little bit different. He's obviously an unreal talent and unreal plate discipline, unreal power at the plate. I've already gotten to know him a good bit. We're beside each other in the clubhouse, and he's a mature young guy, and he seems like he fits right in. And we have a good young core that are all of us kind of have a lot of similar personalities and get along really well. And I think he will as well. So, but yeah, as a player, he's obviously a great plate, discipline and great power. And it's gonna be fun to watch him swing the bat the next couple weeks.
Is there, because with the fan base, we every time he hit a home run, there was highlights from AAA,
Right.
like, oh my God, look, he hit another one. And then there's this buzz when he finally gets called up. Do you guys feel that at all in the locker room, or is it just like, oh, yep, new guy, we got a game to go win?
I mean, just like you guys do, I think the more you're on social media, the more you see stuff like that. If you speak it out, so we knew that he was swinging the bat really well, and we obviously heard a lot from our pro scouting and just our front office about how much they thought about him and how much they loved drafting him, and early on, and they were expected a lot of him. So yeah, I haven't been surprised by any of it, but yeah, you see it the more you look for it, and I think him as a player, he's just a pretty calm mind. He sees it too, but he's just wanting to come up here and prove himself, and like all of us. So it'll be fun to watch.
We were talking to JP Sears, A's left-handed pitcher, here on the Insiders on ESPN 1320. JP, Mason Miller right now, when you get to a certain point in the game and you hand it off to that guy, it just feels like no one can hit him at all. I know he did give up he let Jock Peterson break his hitless streak last night, but watching that guy hit 102, 103 on the gun, and then drop in some crazy off-speed thing that just fools everybody. He's just a joy to watch at this point, and I know Dallas Braden keeps calling him the Reaper on the broadcast. Number one, does that fit him? And number two, outside of JP, what is your nickname?
For myself or for him?
For you. Well, I mean, if you've got another nickname, you can go ahead and throw it out there for him as well.
No,
we're on the radio. Keep it friendly.
Mason's not the most he's not going to try and hype himself up too much or talk too much about himself. But I think that we can all say around him that he's definitely the Reaper. That's a great nickname, and he reaps on hitters' souls when he's out there, and it's fun to watch. But yeah, and I think that a lot of people don't realize how nasty his slider is as well. I mean, obviously it throws 103 with elite command, and like you said, it's fun to watch. I have a lot of confidence in him. When he hands the ball, that it's most likely going to go pretty well, and so it's been a treat to watch. But yeah, nicknames wise, I don't know. Like Shay calls me like Jay Pizzle sometimes, but I'm not. I'm like a JP's kind of already a nickname. So
Yeah.
you know, we're everybody's got a couple different ones for each other, but I'm not really the one with the most nicknames, I don't think, on the team.
I want to let you know, anytime you're on this program, you won't be called Jay Pizzle. We got you.
We got you. We have to take credit because Tyler Soderstrom came on after like the second game of the season,
Yeah,
and now he's a superstar. So we're expecting the same exact bounce for you.
Okay,
Yeah, you're welcome.
There we go.
Yeah, you're welcome ahead of time.
I love hearing that.
Hey, real quick, because we don't want to take up too much of your time. We really appreciate you talking to JP Sears, A's pitcher here. So, when you go up against a guy who's slumping the way Jock Peterson was, and I know that not too many guys are slumping like that. Do you know that as a pitcher? And is there like extra pressure? Like, all right, I don't want to be the guy who gives up that hit.
No, because that's just like I think that we just, if you ask a lot of guys, they say the same thing. You know, we're too just used to our routine as pitchers of what the day takes. You know, I obviously saw that Jock had a tough start of the season and stuff like that, but you don't really, when he comes out of the plate, you know, you still know who he is, and he still has a bat in his hand, and I think you just resort back to, hey, like, you know, this is the scouting report says he struggles with this, and he handles this really well, and struggles with this, so let's attack him this way. But yeah, I mean, obviously, it's never fun to kind of have that spotlight on you, but it usually lasts for about a day or so, and then baseball's pretty quick turnaround.
Yeah, no doubt. JP, really appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much for hopping on with us today. Good luck moving forward, and hope to talk to you again soon.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Hope you all have a great day. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, JP. JP Sears. There he goes. Last 2 starts, by the way. 11 innings, 8 hits, 2 runs, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts. He's locking it.
He's just been really, really, really stable for them for the first month and a half of the season, whatever it is.
And now that he's joined this show, he's going to lead the majors in home runs.
That's
I know who I'm picking up on my fantasy team.
That's right.
Yep.
You're all welcome ahead of time. That's Joe Brazil. He's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. We're the Insiders, sponsored by Jiffy Lube. We're rocking with you until noon. We have a whole second hour coming up. In the second hour, we're going to talk more NFL draft. We'll talk more about the Sacramento Kings and new GM Scott Perry. There's NBA playoffs going on. We're giving away $500.
Oh,
we'll give you the keyword down at ESPN 1320. Tons coming up in the second hour on the Insider, sponsored by Jiffy Lube. It's ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Leader. Woo. Yeah, JP was one of those guys at because at the Sawyer, kind of not atypical of a media kind of thing, but definitely a little bit of a strange vibe. Because we were all in a ballroom and every media outlet was set up in a different space in the ballroom.
Yeah.
And they were just kind of trying to pinball players and coaches to these different outlets who hadn't gotten a chance. And man, it is really tough in that setting to be just like chill and like, and JP was, good vibes.
Yeah. And like Kyle and I took a totally different approach where we didn't bring out microphones and we didn't do formal interviews. We just hung out, which is, it's a way just to break bread with guys and let them talk freely and have more of like a real conversation without having a camera in their face. And it's something I do in pregame in the locker room. Like I hang out, I making fun of Jake LaRivia and his Canadian girlfriend. So, like we hang out. Well, like, because it's like the running gag that, does he really have a girlfriend? He doesn't really have a girlfriend who's Canadian, and she's come to games, and he's not just like making something up. It's not some girl at a different school.
She goes to another school. Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah. So like that, and then we always have, the letters that Doug Christie puts up on the board, which are way up high. He must have a ladder that he climbs to write on the whiteboard. And Sean Cunningham tries to figure it out every day. And Markelle Fultz is usually in the locker room. We're all making fun of Sean for cheating and Googling what it might mean. And like, it's just a different vibe, and it's a better way for people to feel comfortable with you. So when you do talk to them and ask them real questions, you usually get better answers.
I don't appreciate the LA Times taking this shot directly at me. The headline is, what happens if I miss the looming Real ID deadline? Can I still travel? And so what happens sometimes during the break, just to fully pull back the curtain on my process, is I'll get these news updates.
Mhm.
And if there's one that is relevant to me during the show, I'll just open it and I'll have it for later. And then when I get home, I sit down and I kind of read the things I missed it. And it says, what happens if I miss the looming Real ID deadline? Can I still travel? I have a lot of travel coming up. I don't have a Real ID yet.
Oh gosh, neither do I.
Luckily, I have a passport. which
Okay,
it
wait,
turns out
so
you
do
can
I.
use.
We're good.
It says, this is the lead. Despite the multiple extensions for the Real ID deadline, there are still many Americans who don't have one and face the final deadline next month. Like, hey, despite the moving deadline, like,
That's
okay,
definitely me
unnecessary.
too. Yeah.
We don't need all that.
I think I have one.
That's rude.
How do I know if it's a real ID? Hmm.
Hour number 2, that's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. We're rocking with you until noon. Then we will hand it off to D-Lo and KC. And those guys will take you up to 4 o'clock where they will hand it back to us. Me and James will be out at Cache Creek, and Joe will be out at Cache, and Charlie will be out at and Peter will be out at Cache Creek. We're doing we're doing a live show from the Major Professional Football League draft. Because I don't think we can say that the NFL draft is tonight. And then James and I will be at Cache Creek talking about it from 4 to 5 p.m. on this very radio station, ESPN 1320 AM. It's in the YOLO room. It's a ballroom, conference room, small setting. Come hang out with us while we do the show. And then we're going to the Elevate Lounge and we're going to hang out. We're going to watch a draft. We're going to eat good food. And we're going to drink good drinks. And we're going to have a great time. I hope to see you all there.
There we go.
That's all I got.
I'm here
I'm
for
done
it.
talking for the day.
I'm excited.
I'm joking. Lots to get into here in the second hour. Anything jump out from the NBA playoff games last night? The Jimmy Butler injury is the big thing. So the Rockets beat the Warriors 109-94. Jimmy Butler in the first quarter got going up for a rebound. Look, I understand that when a bad play happens, there's an immediate leap to, was it a dirty play or not?
Yep.
Whose fault is it that this thing happened? Sometimes it's somebody's fault. Like, no doubt. What happened last night was Jimmy Butler skied for a rebound. Draymond Green and Steven Adams?
Yep.
Were jockeying for position. And then Amen Thompson tried to squeeze through to go get an offensive rebound. And he lost his balance and he fell. And he just happened to fall in where Jimmy Butler had leaped. And Jimmy Butler came down hard on his tailbone.
Yep.
That's the extent of what happened. I saw people going, that's Amen Thompson, dirty play. No, it was not even a little bit. Oh, he got pushed. I did not see him get pushed. I saw guys fighting for position for a rebound, and one guy fell into the least fortunate place on the court.
No, I totally agree 100%. I think that there were probably 8 other plays in that game that I thought were intentional and were dirty and were crazy and had no business being on a basketball court. That wasn't one of them. It was a mistake. It was an accident. It's not, again.
It sucks that Jimmy Butler got hurt, specifically for the Warriors, because that was kind of, they had chances. That's the frustrating thing is they had chances to get back into that game and they just couldn't get over. I think they got it down as far as 11, and they just could never quite get over the hump. But the Jimmy Butler injury play was a big play in the game. But again, like you said, there were, would you say 8?
Yeah, at least
8. Yeah, other things that happened were like, nope, that's not a real thing.
There's like a comedy reel of Draymond Green touching people in weird ways. You're like, what are you doing?
It's honestly, playoff series doesn't start until that supercut comes out. People say series doesn't start until road team wins a game. No. For the Warriors, series doesn't start until we get the supercut of Draymond Green doing FS.
Yeah.
Like that's the that's the official start.
Yeah, I'm watching. I'm like, what is that play? Like,
What is
why is he grabbing the back of that guy's head?
It's not.
Like, why is he doing that now?
And it's not even. I don't want to turn this. I always joke that D'Lo and Casey talk about Draymond Green more than 95.7 The Game does, the flagship station of the Warriors. So I don't want to make this a whole Draymond Green conversation. But if you're just trying to embellish contact, and if you think you're being fouled and you're trying to, you can do that without throwing jabs and a right hook and a kick and then grappling and doing a wrestling move down someone to the floor and then going, like
kicking someone in the privates,
like brother,
stomping on someone's chest,
on the ground, arms at your side, throw the head back at that. If you think you got hit, just do that. People embellish contact all the time without winding up in a tangle of arms and limbs on the floor. It's like, this is a specifically you problem, dog. Figure it out. And he's not going to. He's 40. Like, he's not going to figure it out at this point. He's not 40. He's 35. But still, he's not going to figure it out at this point.
He doesn't want to figure it out, Kyle. He doesn't want to.
I'm tired, James. Jimmy Butler, his x-ray was negative. I shouldn't say negative. Showed no major damage. He's having an MRI. So they're calling it a pelvic contusion. Steph Curry, this is the play. He missed 2 games with this earlier this year. Jonathan Kuminga missed a game with it. It's TBD on whether he'll return. Our buddy Dr. Nirav Pandya said from UCSF, he said that typically a pelvic contusion, as long as there's not additional damage, is pain management.
Yeah.
So maybe Jimmy Butler misses a game.
Okay.
But that is still TBD, and it will be contingent, I'm guessing, on the result of that MRI.
Well,
if he's not playing, the Warriors are toast.
Yeah, Jimmy Butler's not a young man. So, like, we're going to have to wait and see what he feels like tomorrow and today. Like, that looked like, someone who gets in a car accident.
He didn't even fall on the how do I say this? He didn't even fall on the muscular area.
On the cheek?
He didn't even hit cheek first. That was all like, there was the bounce. Oh, I thought it was, I was like, he's done. That's 100% broken. Apparently it's not.
No.
I will say though, I can vouch I've landed on my tailbone a lot, like snowboarding especially, or on a dirt bike I had before.
Yeah.
A bruised tailbone, even if it's not fractured or anything, like it could stop you from being able to walk for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. A bruised tailbone is very painful.
I've never dealt with a major tailbone thing, but I don't know, man. I imagine that knowing where that bone is, I can imagine it's just the worst.
Oh no, it's horrible. You walk like an old man.
Oof.
Like I leaped up in playing football in high school during practice. We were just playing a game, and I leaped up, caught a ball, and landed on my tailbone. And I literally could have used a walker. Like a walker would have helped me for like a week.
Oh yeah, it's one of the most painful injuries I've ever had by far. Like it's up there.
Still not super impressed with the Rockets offense, by the way.
No.
They hit more threes last night. They looked better last night than they did in game 1, to be sure. Jalen Green was scintillating last night.
Well, but that's
so good.
That's the problem. Like either he's like scintillating or you're like, oh, where did he go?
Yeah.
Yeah, like it just depends on the night. I think he's got so much potential, but like there is definitely a question mark about whether he's a 1A or 2 or a 3.
He feels like the guy, if they were going to make a move, he's the guy it would be centered around. Because I think he's the player, and again, this is not a shot. This is a reality of the NBA. He's the player that of all their guys is, I think, what he does for their team is most easily replaced. He might be a super high level version of it, but when you look at, like, there's not a lot of dudes as good as Amen Thompson defensively just running around in the league. There's not a lot of dudes as awkward and funky as Alperen Şengün running around the league who's a good distributor. He is in that. I think he's on his way to that Jokic, Domas type of player where he's just chalk him up for a double-double every night and he's going to sprinkle in some triple-doubles.
Yeah. Okay. So we talked about this a little bit with the G League, right? G League big men go down. When a bbig man goes to the G League, he usually dominates because there aren't any big men in the G League, right? What there are is a bunch of 6'2" to 6'6" guards that score.
Yeah.
Like that's where Mason Jones sometimes gets lost in the shuffle because he's one of many players like that at the G League level, right? So when we look at the pro level, it's easier to find a shooting guard than it is to find a point guard. Like a point guard, you hand your entire franchise over to.
Right.
A shooting guard can, you can mix and match. You can have a Keon Ellis. You can have a Malik Monk. You can have a Zach LaVine. You can have, those are three very distinct, different types of players.
Yep.
One of them is a pick and roll specialist that shoots threes and gets to the rim, is like instant offense. One of them is a 3-and-D, 3-point shooter. And one of them is just a high level, high 3-level scorer.
Yep.
Right. So they're totally different. But that's why you typically don't trade your point guard for a shooting guard, because finding shooting guards is not nearly as difficult. And like we have it down in the notes. Like when I was watching him play last night, Jalen Green, it just instantly reminded me of Zach LaVine.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting because I need to go. I meant to look at this beforehand. This is poor preparation by me, but it feels like he's where Zach LaVine was a few years into his career. Like he's ahead of where Zach LaVine was at the same point of his career.
Okay.
But he's trending that way in terms of being that type of player where he might give you 25, 26 a night. And there's going to be his nights where, hey, you kind of forgot he was on the court. And then that's going to be followed by 3 games where he gives you 40 and 38 and 29 and shoots 78% from 3 in that stretch.
Yeah, there's just moments where he catches fire and you're looking at him and you're thinking that is exactly what it looks like when Zach LaVine catches fire.
Yep.
And then other times where you're like, come on, man, I need more from you. I need more.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think very, very close player comp. It's just a very young version of. And, like if you're going to look around the league and say, who does it remind you of? And, there's a big difference between, I don't know, like if your offense is predicated around a streaky shooting guard, you're always going to have some problems because when they're not hot, you're in trouble. You got to have another pitch.
But the ceiling for Jalen Green is so high that you could 100% see a team who goes, we'll if we're going to blow it up, if I don't know if this is real, just follow me. If the Bucks say, we're going to trade, Giannis wants out, we're going to trade him. Like, I think Jalen Green is the kind of player that the Bucks, if they're going to start a rebuild with picks, like, cool, we'll take Jalen Green and other stuff and a bunch of picks. Like, we'll center a deal around him. And you see why last night. Second playoff game of his career, and he's dropping 38 points.
He just turned 23. Yeah, he just turned 23.
He was so good last night.
Yeah, his trajectory is like really, really impressive. And I think he will become more and more refined as he moves along in his career. The problem that he has is that he's on a team that is just packed with young players like him. That are all top 5 picks, all top 6 picks. And you're like, you get lost in the shuffle sometimes. And your development sometimes can take a little bit longer because the guys next to you are young and they're making mistakes and they're not exactly where they should be every play.
TC's on line 1. He's got an interesting idea. Go ahead, TC. What's going on? You're on the Elk Grove Kia talk line.
Hammer Khan, what's up, bros?
What's going on?
Hey, man, just vibing. It's draft day. So as far as the Kings, hey, what y'all think about this? I make and I think it's a good trade for both sides. Zach LaVine straight up for Jalen Green. I know you were saying him I'm thinking with Zach LaVine, but he's a younger guy, and I think he'll fit moving forward on the highlight reel. What you think about that trade? I think that's a trade we can pull off for both sides.
Thanks, TC. I don't know if the Rockets would do that.
Yeah, I think there's a problem. The first problem is
if I'm the Kings and the Rockets will do that, I'm doing that yesterday.
Yeah, because you're 7 years younger.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you shave about, I think it's around 15, 16 million off his contract.
Yeah.
I don't think the Rockets do it. Again, they have a bunch of young talent.
Yeah.
And maybe Zach LaVine could be a placeholder for a year or two, but like people forget that, they have Fred VanVleet in the backcourt, right? And the Kings might be looking for a point guard. Well, they are looking for a point guard, and VanVleet might make some sense. But again, that's a whole nother story. But my point is that hiding behind him is they have Reed Shepherd, right?
Right.
Who's like a top 4 pick.
Who's who they sent him down to the G League for one game. He scored 50, and they were like, "Oh, well, all right, come back."
Yeah, I think like if the Kings were going to make
I knew
a
it wasn't that simple.
Green swap, it would have been when they had De'Aaron Fox.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you were going to go younger, and the Rockets were always a team that I told everybody that's the team I would trade with. Like the rest of the league, that's, whatever. Like you can get picks and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The Rockets, you can get picks and you can get young, incredible talent. And they might be willing to deal it because they have so much more of it.
Yeah, and I think with Jalen Green specifically, I think one of the reasons they might be looking to move him is they want to clear a runway for Amen Thompson to kind of take that leap offensively.
Yeah.
And if he's hoarding shots, or if a player like Zach LaVine is hoarding those shots, we talk about it with Keegan Murray and DeMar DeRozan this year.
Mm-hmm.
And you just kind of see that ascension you're kind of waiting on just doesn't quite get there. But we'll see. If I'm the Kings and that offer's on the table, Zach LaVine and some other stuff for Zach LaVine and picks for
Yep.
I'm so in.
Yep.
I'm so in. You know what else I'm in on? Daily fantasy with Underdog. Despite the fact that I had, not only did I lose both lineups last night, actually I had one of them refunded. Shout out to Underdog, because Jonathan Isaac and Cole Anthony both didn't play in the second half of that game. They played 12 minutes combined.
Oh,
yeah, tough. Not only did I lose my Warriors Rockets lineup, I went 0 for 4. I picked 4 players, higher or lower on their stat projections. 0 of them were correct. Usually I'll get like 2 out of 4. Or maybe 1 out of 4 every once in a while. But, 3 out of 4, I'll get some money back with the flex play. Nope. 0. None.
You did really well the one time you brought him in and you said, okay, this higher or lower. And I'm like, lower. And you're like, oh.
Absolutely. I agree with him.
I did well when James did my picks. Cool. Nice. Thanks, dude. That's awesome. No, that's so sick.
No, because you're choosing the picks. And then sometimes, like I told you, I think one of the flaws that I see when I'm playing, Underdog is that I look for things that I think are just lower, because I naturally gravitate like, oh, that seems low.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going, oh, that's way too high. And that guy's, there's no way he's going to score that. I'm usually more on the positive, like, I think he'll score more than that.
Yes.
So I pull a bunch, and I think you do the exact same thing.
That is my process.
Yeah, almost all of them.
You've exposed me.
That's right. But I think that's where if you throw a stat out and someone else goes, oh, I would go lower than that, you'd be like, well, why? And then we have a discussion. Like with the one that you did go lower was Halliburton. And I'm like, I think I would go higher than that. And what happened?
Nailed it.
Halliburton scored more.
He scored 17 in the first half, and I had him lower than 18 and a half. Like, cool, man, whatever. Here's where I'm at tonight. Sign up for Underdog and just pick the opposite of this.
That's right.
This is the way to do it. KYLEM, Kyle M. That's the promo code if you sign up. Okay. Cade Cunningham tonight at home. I'm going higher than 3.5 points in the first 5 minutes.
Oh, I'm in.
I need 2 buckets out of Cade in the first 5 minutes. I think Detroit's going to come out with their foot on the gas, and Cade Cunningham is the alpha and the omega for that offense.
Okay, I'm here for it.
OG Anunoby, I'm going higher than 16.5 points.
I'm also here for that. Good call.
Okay, thank you. And then James Harden, I'm going to go higher than 8.5 assists.
Okay. Yeah.
I just like that number. I so badly wanted to go James Harden triple-double.
Oh.
Because it was like a 9 times multiplier.
Oh.
But I'm ice cold right now. And I didn't want additional long shots in my lineup.
Yeah, I think they're learning very quickly that to beat the Denver Nuggets consistently, you have to mix it up.
Yeah.
And so I think James Harden assists is a good one.
So that's what we're doing on Underdog today. Again, I recommend fading that, given how cold I am. Download the Underdog app to play and sign up with promo code KyleM. That's KYLEM to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. That's promo code KyleM, KYLEM. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/extend.html for details. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncbgambling.org.
Yo.
Be right back.
Sweet. Yeah, Adam, I think you're right. Like, if anyone out there wants to play underdog, that's probably the pick now because Kyle said it wasn't going to happen. What? First of all, it's called Daily Fantasy Sports. Number one, Omi Fresh. Number two, like, every league has their own sponsorship deal with Daily Fantasy Sports. Everybody has it. You're watching commercials all the time. Like, I don't know. There was a time where I was like, oh, I don't know if I feel comfortable doing that. And then it's like, okay, well, they're inundating like whether you're on social media or you're watching a game, wherever, it's like they're throwing it out there nonstop. Casey, you like my
We should get a soundbite for that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I do say it quite often. Do we have anyone showing up to see us at Cache Creek today? It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, who's going to Cache Creek? It's going to be a ton of fun.
Yeah, we're going to hang out and just chill for a couple hours. We're staying there. So, like, you will actually be able to come out and hang out and have a drink with us, have dinner with us, whatever.
Turn the mic off. Don't wave your finger at me. I know what we're doing.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
I appreciate you so much. Joe Brazil is the best in the business. That's James. I'm Kyle.
The finger wag is kind of crazy. I'm not going to lie.
Because you did that. That's the correct thing.
The wrap it up?
Yeah, because James and I were talking off air about a sales related thing that I did not want to be on the stream. So we'll just talk a little business. And we had 17 seconds left in our break when I started telling that story. And so the mics aren't on. James and I are yapping, and Joe's like, bros, we got a show to do. That's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. Well, yeah, because you don't want to get in our, because we're talking. So it's the right thing to do.
Appreciate
Good job, Joe.
I'm going to add that to the move.
Yeah, absolutely. You got break. Oh, dude, you should have seen when I was producing a show at 95.7. Hand signals all the time.
Ooh.
Like, oh, great take. Oh, bad take.
Okay.
Like thumbs up, thumbs down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There's a whole
there's
levels to
all
this.
The hand signals you want.
Yeah, I got you.
That's Joe Brazil.
We do have some not great breaking news from Shams.
Oh, dear.
5-star prospect and USC commit Elijah Arenas, Gilbert Arenas' son, was involved in a serious car crash early Thursday morning. He's hospitalized and placed into an induced coma, sources tell ESPN.
Oh, my God.
Arenas, 18, is the son of former NBA star Gilbert Arenas. So,
holy smokes, man.
Send in prayers to the Arenas family.
Absolutely.
Not good at all.
Brutal, man.
Yeah.
Wishing him a full and speedy recovery for sure.
Yep.
Man, that's tough. That's really tough. All right.
Sorry.
Now we'll
where do we go from there?
Transition out of that. Boy, all right. Let's do
I say
let's do some draft stuff.
Yeah, let's do
more
some
draft
NFL stuff.
I was just I'm trying to figure out what exactly because we have a draft show from 4 to 5 tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And for the people who are loyal listeners of this station, I don't want to be just regurgitating a lot of stuff I've already said. But also, it's like, that's what's happening today. It's tough. We're producing on the fly. It's fine. So Daniel Jeremiah did a mock draft last night. Daniel Jeremiah is for my money, one of the best draft analysts doing it. Mm-hmm. He's so good at player evaluation, and I trust what he says when it comes to player evaluation as much or more than I trust anybody else. Dane Brugler from The Athletic also is way up there. Where some of these guys who are big draft guys don't always, where they don't thrive in the NFL aspect of the draft. It's more like, okay, they can do the player evaluation, etc. But like what teams are thinking and doing, sometimes there's a disconnect. And I think that's what's happened with Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft and the 49ers specifically.
Okay.
Because at number 6 for the Raiders, he has them going with Texas offensive tackle Kelvin Banks. The Raiders, I love the idea of offensive line and not Ashton Jeanty. Ashton Jeanty is an unbelievable talent. He was the runner-up for the Heisman. He just, like I said, go YouTube Ashton Jeanty, and you'll find out why he is a consensus top 10 pick in this year's draft.
Super fun. And a consensus top 10 running back, which has not happened in a while.
Yeah, but Saquon Barkley is the name that jumps out, right?
Yep. Look
what happened when Saquon Barkley went to the Giants, and then look what happened when he went to the Eagles. Right? Like the impact a running back has is different on a good team than a bad team.
Yeah, it's directly correlated with the quality of offensive line, with the quality of quarterback play, with the depth of wide receiver play.
Yeah.
With you have a tight end who can space the seam,
sure,
and give you room to run.
There are. It is so rare that you're going to be a bad team and be like, yeah, let's take a running back, and now you're just going to be good. And maybe the Raiders are that. Maybe Geno Smith and Brock Bowers and Max Crosby is enough of a core that, yep, we're going to plug Ashton Jeanty in, figure out the rest of the draft. It's a deep draft, so you plug in a couple and hey, look, now we're cooking with gas. Maybe. If I'm the Raiders,
mm-hmm.
I'm going with whether it's Kelvin Banks or whether it's Armand Membu, an offensive tackle from Missouri. Maybe Will Campbell, offensive tackle from LSU, falls to them. That's the route I'm going now. Because look, I need to keep Geno Smith upright. I need to keep whoever my quarterback of the future is upright. We talk about it with the 49ers. I think the 49ers are in a similar spot where that has to be, the trenches have to continue being a priority. And I know Ashton Jeanty is this awesome prospect, and it's probably super enticing to take him if he falls to 6. I'm hoping the Raiders stay away because I think it would be better for them long-term. It would be less exciting now, better long-term.
I agree. Like, the way you build typically is from the inside out at the NFL level. Like, you have to have your quarterback.
At least you should.
Yeah, but great teams, like, they always have a great defensive line and a very, very good offensive line.
Yep.
That's how you build. Like, that's one of the flaws, I feel like, to some of what Kyle Shanahan does,
mm-hmm.
is that he does not specifically like focus on those things. Do they have like a flashy pass rusher, Nick Bosa? Sure. Do they have a great left tackle on Trent Williams? Mm-hmm. Sure. But they don't value that like so many other franchises do, especially the team who just won the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Like Philadelphia, like the last like 8 years, every single year it feels like not only do they trade guys that are big
mm-hmm.
name guys, or do they let them go in free agency or whatever, but
mm-hmm.
they restock with other high end,
mm-hmm.
like incredible talent. And when you get to playoff games, it seems to matter.
So it's funny you say that, because Daniel Jeremiah, again, very, very well respected draft analyst who I believe is one of the best doing it, out of nowhere in this mock draft that he published on the internet, has the 49ers at number 11 overall taking North Dakota State offensive lineman Gray Zabel. This is not a Gray Zabel take. Gray Zabel is a really, really fun prospect. He's like 6'6", he's like 320, he can move. He's probably going to play guard because he has short arms. He's probably going to play guard in the NFL. But he's massive, and he's hard nosed, and he's just a road grader, right? If we're using the draft jargon. I don't hate the idea in a vacuum. Gray Zabel would start at left guard and be good for the 49ers. But this is where, when I talk about that disconnect between the draft analyst and the NFL teams, and maybe Daniel Jeremiah talked to somebody with the 49ers and they're like, hey, we're going to give you this info that nobody else has even hinted at. This is not even, Gray Zabel has never been connected to the 49ers. Never, not even once, not even back when they were projected to pick in the late first round because people thought they were going to win the Super Bowl. Not even that. Not even then.
Yeah.
This is insane, and I never say never, but I'm going to say never on this. Because this is a matter of just team philosophy. Kyle Shanahan and their offensive line coach, Chris Forrester, both said on the record last year, we think we can build an offensive line. You just need 5 starters. You need 5 starting caliber linemen, and we think we can find those guys on day 2 and day 3. Early in the draft, we're going to pick the guys that make plays, the guys who score touchdowns. That's the offensive, or defensively, the guys who can affect the quarterback.
Yeah.
That's what they're going to do early in the draft. The 49ers taking an interior offensive lineman 11th overall would be the most shocking thing that has happened for the 49ers in the NFL draft in ever, at least in my memory.
Yeah.
I would be floored if they suddenly went, hey, you know what? This position we've never prioritized. We're going to take one at 11.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
It's weird. Like I don't hate the idea that they go off the beaten path, but like we're both on the track that, okay, yeah, they're taking offensive linemen who can eventually replace Trent Williams, which I don't think Zabel can, or you're picking a defensive lineman.
Yeah.
I don't hate the idea that, you know what? Hey, maybe they go linebacker because there's just a bet. Maybe they go tight end. Maybe they Tyler Warren from Penn State. They just think he's so much better than everybody else. And you know what? Not a great need, but you know what? He's going to be awesome. So they take him. I don't even hate that. I would put offensive line, taking out the special teams positions, kicker, punter. Offensive line, interior offensive line would go at the bottom of the list of positions. I think the Niners pick at 11. The very bottom.
No, I would agree with you. Like, there are cornerbacks that you could see and go, okay, I get it.
Yes.
I don't fully agree, but I get it.
Sure.
You know, I don't think there's, a linebacker that they're going to take at that position,
so,
but it's defensive tackle, defensive end, and offensive tackle. Like, there are such positions of need for this team. And there's a way I think that they should address all of these positions multiple times in this draft. Like, I would not be surprised if they walked out of this draft with 3 defensive linemen and 2 or 3 offensive linemen. And I mean, that's kind of where they're at as a franchise. Maybe they're going to draft a couple other guys. Maybe they'll draft a running back in the 3rd or 4th round, like they always do. They're not going. I would hope they wouldn't squander a pick on a kicker in like the 4th round, like they have in the past. But like,
bro,
even
if that happens, let me just pause you right there. If the 49ers pick a kicker or punter, because Mitch Wishnowsky, their punter, good player.
Yep.
4th round pick, by the way, 2019, I think. If they take a kicker or punter before the 238th pick, is just the number I'm putting on it.
7th round.
Late 7th round.
Yep.
If you're taking a kicker or punter before then, I will be on the radio tomorrow at 10 a.m. right here on the Insiders. I'm going to invite everybody to call, but specifically I'm going to invite TC to call in, and we're going to fire Kyle Shanahan together. We're going to do that. We're going to do that on the Elk Grove Kia Talk line.
That's right.
So that's man, I would be floored if Gray Zabel is the pick. Now maybe they trade way down in the 1st round, and you know what? He's just the best player on the board at
24,
28 or whatever. Yeah, wherever. Okay, still wouldn't love it, but okay, that, like, I guess I get it. But philosophically at 11, it doesn't. And then Daniel Jeremiah got asked about it. Brad Graham is 49ers YouTuber who is at the draft and asked Daniel Jeremiah, like, yo, what's the deal here? And DJ's thing was, well, they need offensive line to help, but I love Gray Zabel. I don't love him at 11, but it's like, wait, what? What are you talking? Insane.
Just throwing stuff up against the wall.
Do you know what else is insane?
Yeah, I think I do.
The fact that we're giving away $500 every day this week and every day next week.
Yeah, the jump shot jackpot giveaway is insane.
Who's that courtesy of?
Our friends over at Folsom Lake Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, home of the big guy Vince Bloom.
The big guy Vince Bloom. We love Vince Bloom.
We do love Vince Bloom.
And you're going to love Vince Bloom too, because this $500 that we're giving away is courtesy of him.
Yeah.
So real quick, if you entered to win yesterday, check your voicemail or missed calls from a 916 number, because as far as I know, our promotion staff is still trying to get a hold of you.
There you go. So we don't have yesterday's winner because you're not picking up your phone.
Yeah, that's correct. I'm checking my email now just to make sure I didn't miss something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, we still don't have a name for yesterday's winner because they have not yet responded to collect their prize. Luckily, you have 2 opportunities to win today.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to give you a keyword right now that you're going to enter at ESPN1320.com. There's a contest page you can't miss. You're going to enter this code word. You'll be entered to win $500. D'Lo and KC will also be giving you a different keyword later. I don't know when. I'm not planning their show. They'll give you a keyword later in the 3 o'clock hour. In the 3 o'clock hour, according to Jesse, their producer.
Yep.
They will also be giving you a chance to enter to win. So you can enter twice today to win $500.
All right.
James, would you like to announce today's keyword?
Yeah, today's keyword is 3. THREE. 3.
Today's number is 3. 3. Like a 3-pointer?
Yeah.
Like CP3? And you have to spell it THREE.
Yeah,
you don't just numerical 3.
Yeah, no numerical 3. You got to type it in.
THREE. Enter that code at the Jump Shot Jackpot giveaway contest page at ESPN1320.com. That's courtesy of Folsom Lake Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, home of the big guy Vince Bloom. You will be entered to win $500.
That's
I
right.
wish I could enter. I could use $500 right now.
Yeah.
Man.
$500 tonight? Cash Creek? Come on now, Kyle.
Are we gambling tonight? I don't know if we can talk about this on the
I don't know.
I think I'm gonna play a little bit.
You gonna play?
I think so.
I might
here's my with NinersWire.com. Everybody check it out. I have a bunch of writing to do tonight.
Oh yeah.
But luckily, because it's just the first round, ideally, fingers crossed, it's just a 1 pick. So I'll have stuff to do. But once I'm done with that, I'm gonna go back downstairs and I'll be back around.
Okay.
Hanging out. So got some good news, RE the podcast. So not gonna have to worry about that. We're flying around right now.
All right.
I'm fired up.
Vibes are up.
Vibes are way up. Because once I'm done with that, it's drinks, food, and gambling time.
Oh yeah.
That sounds pretty fun.
Yeah. I can't wait. Find a little blackjack table?
Yeah. I'd play blackjack. That's fine.
All right. Coming out of this tonight. Live show 4 to 5 p.m. in the YOLO room. And then after that, we're gonna go watch the NFL draft in the Elevate Lounge at Cash Creek. It says 7:30 on the thing. I'm not going to bed at 7:30. Come on.
No.
I'm hanging out. As long as we're hanging out, you can come hang out. Anyways. The handoff coming up next. One of D'Lo or KC will be in. Not exactly sure which. But we'll talk with them about the draft. We got NBA playoff games tonight that we got to dig into. And that's coming up next on The Insiders. Sponsored by Jiffy Lube. It's ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Center.
And actually, I wanted... Oh, there we go.
Thank you.
Thanks, Russ.
Steven has a question for you, James, and I would like to see...
Ooh.
I would like to see what you say to this as well.
I'm hitting.
Dealer showing a 10. You got a 16. What are you, Terrence Long? Like, take a swing, bro.
Okay, cool.
No, I mean, that's... You got to play according to Hoyle.
Did Michael Gleason tell you... Or, excuse me, Kevin Gleason.
Kevin Gleason.
Michael's his middle name. Kevin Gleason tell you about the thing I texted him?
No, because I didn't talk to him yesterday.
Oh, okay. This isn't drama. It's a joke that I don't want to say on the stream. Oh. Okay, so can we announce the winner? Okay. Don't touch that dial. We're announcing the winner of yesterday's $500 when we get back.
That's true. Yeah, these are mound visits. You're right, Rest Dog. Good call.
I think we need to bring gloves in just for these moments to put the glove up over the face when you're talking. That would be good. That would be really good.
Do we still have?
Oh, hey, we can sponsor that too.
Ooh.
We can get that sponsored where we put like a graphic up.
Mound visit time.
The mound visit.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Oh, that's incredible.
Bring my ball glove to the studio every day.
It wasn't messed up though. It's a good freaking joke.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a great point
don't put
actually
this on
because they
there.
got speedy oil change on the Giants
No.
mound visits.
Straight up.
No.
Hey, straight up. If this happens,
Well,
you won't see me tonight. I'm dead serious.
If what happens?
If the 49ers trade Brock Purdy and pick Shedeur Sanders, you won't see me at Cache Creek. For the rest of the night.
You're going to be working the whole night.
Oh my God, dude, that would be a nightmare.
Yeah. Hey, Joe. We're just not going to mention someone other than Jiffy Lube.
We love Jiffy Lube. Don't take your car anywhere other than Jiffy Lube.
No, of course not.
I gotta know why you would, but
Yeah.
we love our friends at Jiffy Lube. Yeah, it's because the draft, the 3-day process. Again, not complaining, just telling. The draft is like my 3 busiest days, and on like a game day during the season, I might publish 12 to 15 times. Well, me and my couple contributors will publish 12 to 15 times. In the 3 days of the NFL draft, depending on how many trades and picks they make and stuff, there'll be 45 to 50 posts over the 3 days.
Yeah.
Depending on, like I said, depending on how many guys I draft.
1
year, the Ravens guy did 38 posts on day 1 of the draft.
It's
excessive. It's like, that's so much.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, how many people are going to actually read your stuff?
Yeah, that's what I always worry about is like, hey, is this just getting saturated? Hey, it's Damian Barling.
Hi, Damian Barling. Hey, man. I did not turn on that computer. My bad. Jim Garfinkel, if the Knicks go down in the first round, do you think they will be willing to deal Cat or OG?
No.
You think so?
Cat for sure.
If they go down in the first round, the problem is they could get Giannis.
Well,
that's what they could use those guys for.
Giannis in New York would be something. 10 seconds.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
And dang right it is. The handoff coming off in just a second with Damian Barling of D-Lo and KC. They're going to come up at noon. They're going to take you to 4 o'clock, and then at 4 o'clock, James Ham and I will be back on the radio. We'll be talking about the draft, doing an hour. We won't be on YouTube, but we will be on the radio, 1320 a.m. or the free Odyssey app. If you're like, hey, man, it's 2025. I'm not tapped in on a radio, or I'm not going to be around a radio. That's okay. Hit the Odyssey app.
That's
Yes?
right.
Why?
What?
Why aren't you on the stream? The YouTube?
Is because a suitable answer.
Yep. I'll just show myself out.
No. That was the handoff. Tune in, D'Lo and KC.
Well, I didn't know if you were going to do your thing real quick, so I was.
No, the thing. No, my
the thing is done.
I
Okay.
did, dude. I already did my.
You
thing.
did the thing. Okay. All right.
We already went there.
No.
Okay.
We've talked about daily fantasy sports already.
Excellent.
So,
You okay?
yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
The reason we're not that probably goes beyond something that I'm comfortable talking about on air,
Gotcha.
and we can talk after.
Okay. Yep.
But we're not going to be on the stream.
Okay.
Because we're not planning on it.
Fair enough. Okay.
We might be.
I have nothing to do with this.
That's fine. All right.
Okay. Okay. I'm running through scenarios in my head. I think I understand. Maybe a slightly difficult setup. Maybe a more downgraded setup if you did it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Let's
that's
go.
fine.
Well, that's what we'll
Hey,
go.
how
with.
about the Kings, huh?
Yeah, but hey, Scott Perry, am I right?
Scott Perry won the press conference. Am I right?
Yeah, he did. I want to go back to what we were talking about at the break briefly.
Okay.
Somebody in the chatty house asked if the Knicks lose in the first round,
Mm-hmm.
if they would trade Cat and or Jim Garfinkel said, if the Knicks go down in the first round, do you think they might be willing to deal Cat or OG? I said no, right as you said yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
You think they would clear that out already?
I think it might be more maybe Cat and maybe Mikal more than OG.
Sure.
Certainly one of those two, Mikal or OG, but I think it would be Mikal over OG Anunoby.
Do you think it would be to break that core up? Because you said they might get Giannis.
Well, that's what I think it would be
And
for.
right. So that's what I'm saying. I obviously everything for every team should be on the table for Giannis, right? Like that's a perennial MVP candidate.
Yeah, and there's a handful of teams. Houston is one of them.
Mhm.
Obviously, Oklahoma City is another, and New York is one that has the assets to acquire Giannis Antetokounmpo and immediately be a championship contender.
Yeah.
The other teams that can acquire him might not necessarily be,
Right.
championship contenders. Golden State is one that is long.
I think Jonathan Kuminga and
Been
some picks will get it done.
Well, I think Draymond has to be in that, doesn't he? You would have to sign Jonathan Kuminga
to like a
because you'd have to have
extension.
money. Yeah,
Yes.
you'd have to
Yeah.
move money
Oof.
somehow. I always thought Draymond would be a part of that. Of course, the second Draymond is away from Steph, he's going to retire.
The minute that trade went through.
Yeah. The second they got a whiff, the second Rich Paul got a whiff of it, be like, no, he's going to TNT.
Yeah.
It's just going to be a bad analyst.
A different place.
He's going to go somewhere. Yeah, he's going to go somewhere because he's fooled the world into believing he's good at this.
Hey,
But
make it,
yeah,
make it, man.
I think there's a couple of teams that are, kind of on the, like, if something goes wrong in the first round, yeah, you look at them a little bit.
The Bucks are the one, dude.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
The NBA offseason, let's just go down this path where the Knicks have lost in the first round.
Mhm.
You've got potentially Cat, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby.
Mhm.
The Bucks go down to the first round. You
Yep.
could have Giannis asking out. You could have the Suns doing whatever the Suns
you
are
already
talking
have,
about.
yeah. Well, you could have Giannis asking out. You have Dame Lillard. You have the situation with Phoenix, as you were pointing out. Kevin Durant almost certainly. You have the ultimate, wild card if they wind up trading, Devin Booker, which I don't think is a thing, but it's the ultimate, like, oh, they're done. Yeah, this could be. I mean, there's questions about Ja Morant in Memphis. There's questions about Trae Young in Atlanta. There's a lot of stuff. Like Casey always says this could wind up being the summer of Giannis, and we joked yesterday or a couple of days ago after watching the Pacers punk them for the second straight time. It could be the spring of Giannis.
Yeah.
Like, that man could ask out before Memorial Day.
This could get really wild.
It could get wild. It could turn into something.
Sorry, I thought there was going to be a pod. That's bad producing by me.
I didn't even catch the. Oh, okay. I was going to say
I'm a winner. I'm a winner.
screen setter.
So, and then the other two teams that are interesting to me, if that all happens, it means you might have Oklahoma City using some of the assets they have to make that move to just take that
and then just
meteoric leap,
just quit.
And the Rockets, the same deal.
Rockets are exactly the same.
Oh yeah.
One of those two teams could acquire one or two of those guys that we're talking about and just turn into this juggernaut for half a decade.
I don't know who's winning the title this year. I think I've picked Boston to repeat. I'll probably just continue to lean on that. Next year, though, it's probably one of the three teams we just mentioned. Oklahoma, if they do what they're capable of this offseason, it could very well be Oklahoma City, Houston, or New York.
Yeah.
Because New York ain't it for me this year. They haven't been it for me all year.
No. They should be down 2-0.
And getting them, and if they lose in this first round, chef's kiss. Put an end to it. And then work this offseason. Like, let me see you how you respond to this. Because they responded. The Mikal Bridges was, all right, we're competing with Boston.
Yeah.
Milwaukee's done. We're not worried about them. Pacers, they're cute. We're competing with Boston.
Not Cleveland?
It's not true. No. I don't think they saw Cleveland making this jump when they made that move for.
Okay. No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, I don't think they saw that at all. Now, once the season got going, absolutely. Now New York's competing with everybody. like they're competing with Detroit. Like there's
the Pacers on their ass.
But when they made the deal for Mikal, it was they were looking at Boston and Boston only.
Yeah, no doubt.
And now there's 3, 4, 5 teams that they have to look at.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all in on Mikal still. Like,
are you?
Yeah, if you could go get Mikal,
I love Mikal Bridges.
He makes $24.5 million next year.
I'm not paying him. I don't care. Make it work. I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me a bit. Yeah. I like Mikal Bridges, though. I feel like that
especially 24.5. Yeah.
I feel like that's a hill that I'm just dying on at this point. Because he keeps winding up in places where, when he was in Brooklyn essentially by himself, he's really good. But how do you? It's not what you want from him.
Yeah.
Like you're not bringing him in to be your one. And Casey always used to. The best place to look at Mikal Bridges was Phoenix. Can you bring Mikal Bridges in somewhere to where he could be as good as he was in Phoenix? And if you feel like the answer is yes, great. He's a notch below that in New York because you have OG and obviously that's Jalen 1 and you got Cat there. And I feel like he's just kind of lost there.
Yeah.
And I guess I'll just die on that hill. Like I think
I'm
he's
with
a
you.
great ball player.
No, I think so too.
James and I are on this island with you. We're hanging out.
All right.
We're playing tic-tac-toe.
It's all die together.
It's gonna be great.
If you can, throw like DeMar DeRozan to match salary and a couple of first-round picks.
Oh.
Yeah. No, I would be all over that. I think it would be perfect.
Because then you could just go Jalen Brunson, DeMar DeRozan, just your turn, my turn offense, and just go full ISO ball.
Yeah.
James loves that. James loves when teams.
I want to move to New York and watch that every day.
James wants to cover that for the next 15 years.
Yeah. The other thing, real quick, the other big playoff takeaway for me is that Paolo Banchero is here.
Oh yeah,
he is. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
The Magic have their shortcomings for sure, but he is ridiculous.
Him and Cade both.
Yeah,
I think have been. The league's got some.
Yeah.
And got some guys.
If Jalen Green keeps cooking like he did last night,
and that was incredible,
force himself into that conversation.
Yeah, just the weird thing is, what would he have the night before? 7?
Yeah, he was really bad in game 1.
He's 23-year-old Zach LaVine.
That's tough.
He was good defensively last night too, though.
He was I mean, not shade, like they got a little energy breathed into them when Jimmy went down.
Yeah,
like that was still I think it was the first quarter, but it was a close game when Jimmy went down. And then it was like, I know what I would have. They don't have a chance now. That's what I would have thought if I was a Houston. They have no chance now without Jimmy Butler. None. Because we know there's one guy on that side who can be a threat offensively.
I didn't feel like the Rockets, though, took that game. The Warriors just couldn't get over the hump. They turned it. They'd get it to 11. They'd get a stop, turn it over.
Yeah.
Give up a bucket, turn it over. Oh, all of a sudden it's back to 16. I didn't feel like the Rockets went in and just took that game and dominated in a way that they were down. The Warriors were down 14 at the half. Like I said, they kind of kept it around there and just ended up being 15. Rockets should have won that game by 30.
They're just a year away the Rockets.
I agree with
that's,
that.
That's exactly what we're saying right
I
now.
agree with that.
Yeah.
Ahmed Thompson.
I'm still not picking them to win this series. Unless Jimmy's not back. If you're telling me Jimmy's not coming back or he's missing 2 to 3 games, then yeah, Houston's winning the series. But
my pick was Golden State in 7.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm still cool with that, if Jimmy misses 1, if he misses 2, then
it feels like they can't win a game in this series without Jimmy Butler.
No, they wouldn't have made the playoffs without. They wouldn't have been in the play-in without Jimmy Butler. They are not good when Jimmy Butler's not on the team. What do you guys got coming up on D'Lo and Casey?
Anthony Slater coming up in about 45 minutes.
Oh, Slates.
Fresh off his trip to Houston, so we'll talk to him a little bit about the Scott Perry stuff. Yesterday, Matt George, final hour of the show. We can't push our draft conversation off any further.
Like literally, you can't. If you're going to talk about the draft,
it has to be today. So
you can talk about it tomorrow after the first round happens.
It has gotten the boot 3 times this week. So
I love this station so
much. The hopes of covering the draft today, they're sky high. It was written into the first hour yesterday. The 12 o'clock hour is important. It was written into the first cut. Still skipped it. Still was like, no, we were on Scott Perry for 2 hours.
I can't wait to find out what you guys talk about instead today.
We're talking about the draft, probably. If not, well, Kyle's going to do it at 4. Kyle and James will do it at 4. So even if we don't,
let's just push it off. We get it.
Full draft coverage with the insiders coming up at 4 o'clock.
D'Lo and Casey are talking about the draft in that they're going to promote that. Oh no, you can't. But we're going to be on air. From 4 to 5. You can promote that.
Yeah, for sure. The draft show at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, we talk draft.
Well, you could say it now because it's not 12.
Oh, yeah, we'll be out of Cache Creek.
Right.
You can't say that.
I cannot say that.
And what if we just did this every time? So James and I were going to be out. We're going to be talking about the NFL draft. We'll be watching the NFL draft out at Cache Creek. Just come hang out with us, talking draft.
That would be great. That's a very visual bit for those that are watching. For those that are on the radio, like nothing happened.
You had no idea.
No. I forgot we're on the radio. James Ham, Joe Brazil. I'm Kyle Madsen. Come hang out with us at Cache Creek today for we're talking draft. We're watching the draft. 4 to 5 is our show, and then we're watching at the Elevate Lounge. Good food, good drinks, good times. We're sponsored by Jiffy Lube. This is the Insiders on ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Leader. Drink water, be nice, people.